Today's episode is presented by Lodestar, the fee experts.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Lending Leaders. My name is Alayna Gardner, and this week I'm joined by Brandon Goldstein. He's the Director of Real Estate Solutions at Cape Analytics. We had the pleasure of meeting in Minnesota and Wisconsin late last year. We were both doing a little bit of a tour with the Curans up there. And I got to see your presentation and just how cool your software was. And I knew we'd have to hop on a recording and kind of talk about it and get you on the podcast. So thank you, Brandon, for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And like you said, we met a few months ago and have stayed in touch. And I think we both found what one another are doing to be interesting. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about how you ended up in real estate. You know, you guys are doing something pretty niche. So it's always a fun thing to ask.
Sure. So I've been in this industry in one way or another my entire career, which has been about 15 years. So in 2009, I started working at an appraisal management company on the business development side that was out of San Diego, California. Did that for a couple of years, and then a group left that company to go start an alternative valuation company that focused largely on valuation methodologies that sat outside of the traditional 1004 appraisal workflow. So AVMs, broker price opinions, different things that were sort of esoteric products to the appraisal, which led me more into the capital market space. So worked with a lot of funds, SFR aggregators, groups that needed bulk portfolio valuations for a couple of years there. That was the focus. In 2013 to 15, one of my clients actually asked me to go over and run their acquisitions at a non-performing loan fund here in Chicago. So I did that for a couple of years, which gave me some investment and capital market, secondary market experience. That fund ultimately wound down in about 2015, 2016. So I came back to the valuation side of the business with the same group that I was with previously, worked with them for the next 8 years. And then in 2023, I left the appraisal and title world to come over here and work on the technology side.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely, you got a little bit of everything in there, to be honest, which is always, I feel like, is a great viewpoint to have.
Yeah, it was really nice to round out the different viewpoints and sort of see it from the vendor side, the principal investor side, investing in loans, understanding the mortgage debt, real assets, and then coming over here to Cape Analytics and focusing on the technology side, how we can sort of modernize some of these processes for lenders.
Yeah. And we've talked a lot on this podcast in general about AI. It's definitely a buzzword. And I think some of us are getting a little tired talking about it. I am, but it's okay. How have you seen the real estate and mortgage industry's collective consciousness of AI-powered processes change over time, especially since the emergence of ChatGPT? Because I think there's an exciting way for AI, and then there's the ChatGPT. I want to be very specific. That's the part of AI I'm done talking about, is like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think
use it.
Exactly. I think, ChatGPT is an interesting segue into large language models, that, sector of AI, which, we don't really touch the LLMs, the large language models, but that's something that you see a lot of lenders and people in the space implementing upfront for either initial intake of potential borrower information from the website for incoming leads, or customer service if you're reaching out to your loan servicer about payments or an issue, or your escrow account. A lot of those are sort of front loading that AI element into it to sort of either answer those questions, so they need less staff internally to do that, or just sort of path that appropriately to the right folks, as opposed to, an old dial-in system where you're, waiting for those menus and trying to get to the right person. This is a little bit more interactive. Where we focus at Cape Analytics is on the machine learning and computer vision piece of it. So what we do is pretty interesting. And what it does is it allows outlier detection to take place in an automated manner. So a lot of folks are using automated valuation models, which is sort of a enterprise version of like a Zestimate through Zillow or like a Redfin price estimate. So on the loan origination side, you see a lot of folks using that, but what that lacks is a conditional element. So by using computer vision and machine learning, we're able to take high resolution imagery that we gather from airplanes and pull structured data out of it instantly. So it works sort of as a first step in that process to triage what you're going to do and how you're going to path that loan forward as far as the collateral condition piece. So maybe you're going to use an AVM and portfolio that loan. Well, AVMs are great for certain homes and they're great when there's nothing wrong, but what they lack is a conditional element. So our technology, our AI piece will actually, in that same time span, which is pretty much instant, less than a second response time, allow somebody to see nearly 100 data elements of the property from that high resolution imagery. So at that point, you're able to take a lightweight data layer, which is what we provide, and decide if, yes, this loan is good to go to funding through an automated valuation model, or, no, there's a tarp on the roof or 500 square feet of yard debris in the back, which could signal other things. We want to get eyes on that property and do something boots on the ground. So that's the focus for our piece of AI. But I think to step back a little bit, there's is a lot of talk about it, right? A lot of people are tired of talking about it because they've either implemented technology that hasn't done what it said it's going to do, it hasn't created the efficiencies that they've thought it was going to, or it's just taken a really long time to overhaul a core system. So I think people get caught up when they hear AI, large language models, as sort of a total reboot of their whole technology and processes that are going to eliminate a lot of jobs, be hard to understand, have a big learning curve. But when you really break it down, you can take these different AI applications, like something we do at Cape Analytics, where it just sits alongside an existing process to make that more efficient. So you're right. You go to these conferences and, everybody is technology, data, digitized, modernization, sort of hitting all the buzzwords. You really have to dig in and see, what does that mean, right? Is that just a nice website that has a little bit of technology like every company in the world right now, or are they really utilizing this technology as their core offering?
Yeah, and I think my personal frustration with AI and how much it's talked about, one is just I go to a lot of shows, right? And I'm in tech, so like a lot of tech people are talking about it. But to your point, right? It isn't, there's this fear mongering. I also feel like that comes with AI of AI is coming for my job or anything like that. And I think with any technology, it's not them coming for your role, right? It's you should be working alongside technology to make your day. Like if you can do one less repetitive or redundant task that can be done by a machine, that allows you and frees you up to do so many other things, right? And I think that's the biggest thing for me is like you don't see as many people talking about that piece of it, right? Or the additional value and clarification that your tool can provide. By adding information, right? That's what it's doing. It's providing additional information that you didn't have access to before, which is huge in some of these pieces.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think you have to look at the value propositions that are most important to your organization when you're going to onboard technology in general or AI. What are you really trying to gain from that? Is it saving your borrowers money? Is it creating more bandwidth for your internal staff to do other tasks? Because like you said, a lot of these things are sort of mundane tasks that either slow down funding for an originator or just take up time for people that could be doing something else. Where we sit in the injection point in that ecosystem is we, in most cases, can eliminate the need for certain types of loans to ever need a boots on the ground inspection. So, we have an automated property condition report where that's going to, in most cases, if the property looks good from the imagery and data you see from our company, you're not going to send somebody out there. You can fast track that loan. So you're getting your
Mm-hmm.
borrower the money faster, which is creating a better pull through rate on actually funding those leads that come in and those loans that the LOs are working hard to harvest and get to funding. And then you're
Mm-hmm.
freeing up time because a processor or somebody in underwriting doesn't have to keep going out and checking with an appraisal management company or a group of appraisers on where's that inspection, did it get reassigned, things like that. So, it doesn't have to be this intimidating thing that's going to take your job. It can be something
Mm-hmm.
that allows you to go focus on the tasks that really require your time and thinking.
Yeah. And I know you said that you guys, as opposed to being a large language model, you guys are more machine learning and computer vision. How have those types of AI changed the game when it comes to risk mitigation and property assessment for lenders, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you
exactly.
touched
So
about this a little bit, so we're a little like driving it home, but I think it's so important to have those pieces.
yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's just that added layer of intelligence, where you sit
Hmm.
in the chain depends on how you're going to use it. But if you're an originator that is portfolioing a mortgage, you may want to use an AVM because it's quick and it allows the funding to happen and it's inexpensive for your borrower. But this really gives you that added layer of property intelligence. So something like what we're doing particularly is going to give somebody that confidence in the condition instead of just having to look at something on a portfolio level and saying, we have a margin of error that we allow. You can really dig in and find those outliers. So, you can see
Hmm.
how that can, either fast track a loan or mitigate your risk. And I think that's the main thing to think about. How are you mitigating your risk by using different pieces of data that come in?
Yeah.
There are systems out there that can automate underwriting. That's really interesting as well. But a lot of what we're doing is saving time for borrowers and members of that origination staff.
Yeah. I mean, as we go into our trade show season here, I'm sure we're going to see lots of new AI tools and new things that are claiming to be AI. And I think there's this very a lot of them, like there is this black box concept, right? Like you can't really see inside of an AI to see what that computer is thinking. But at the same time, I think a lot of it is built intelligence. It's a lot of if then statements. It's not that different from what we already do and what you might be building as a DDM rule in your Encompass environment, right? Saying if this, then this, right? Like your outlier, your plane is saying if there's debris in the backyard, then this.
Right, exactly. The computer vision is, if AI in totality is what allows the computers to think, you can think of computer vision as what allows them to actually see. And you should bifurcate,
Mm.
taking a photo is not necessarily seeing. So the computer vision element allows the computer to identify these, colors and patterns and different things. And then the machine learning is what really allows the computer to understand patterns and draw inferences from it. So, on our side, we would be able to train those models to understand roof age or roof condition based on streaking or missing shingles or different types of shadowing, which is really interesting. So, I think the biggest application for
Yeah.
these computer vision and machine learning is being able to instantly pull out those qualitative elements. There's a lot of these borrower inspection apps that are starting to utilize those as well. So that's an interesting thing as well, where you can have the borrower go through their house, take the photos. That replaces the need for somebody to come inside their home. And then you could have
Hmm.
technology that sits on top of that and says, what level of finish do they have? Does this house need repainting? Is there chipping? Is there stains on the carpet? Just your basic conditional things to where in an
Hmm.
automated fashion, you could really see like a C rating on an appraisal. So eventually you'll sort of be able to piece these things together with, something that does the exterior, like our technology, and then something that does
Mm-hmm.
the interior through a borrower inspection. And then you utilize all that computer vision, machine learning, and it's instant, right? So you can get borrowers their money quicker and save them a ton of money.
Yeah. And that's really what it's about, right? Is fast and saving people money.
Yep.
So as we wrap up here today, um, we always like to ask this question here at Lodestar. So what is your Lodestar, your guiding light, either professionally or personally? So no pressure. I know it's always always a bigger question than we think it's going to be.
No, that's a great question. Professionally, I think it's working on things that are making an impact in the industry, right? At the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, you want to be out there providing something that you believe in and that you think is making a positive change. And it gives you that internal self-fulfillment at the end of the day too, right? You're not just out selling a commoditized widget that is transactional. You're really taking a consultative approach and trying to understand the business of your clients. How can you implement something that is better for everybody, right? So if you can
Mm-hmm.
get to that point where it's something that's a win-win for the organization and for the folks they serve, the borrowers or the members, it's that's always really rewarding. And then also, I think just modernizing is something that I'm passionate about. So through my career, whether it was working on hybrid appraisals before that was really a thing in like 2011, or selling some of these unique title products over the last few years, it's always exciting to go out with something that modernizes these sort of archaic processes. We all
Mm-hmm.
know that the mortgage industry is pretty dated in terms of technology. COVID forced a lot of that innovation over the last couple of years. So that's
Mm-hmm.
been, one of the silver linings, I guess, in terms of work and industry. But it's
Mm-hmm.
very slow, right? And that's one of the exciting things and the challenging things about the mortgage space. You talk to a lot of clients that love the modernization or a certain technology, but then it's, does the person I'm selling my loans to accept it? How do the rating agencies look at it? Does Fannie and Freddie look at it? So it's sort of this fun puzzle to piece together when you are blazing the path forward with technology. And I think that's something that really resonates with me and excites me, is that
Yeah,
challenge.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Brandon, for joining me today. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
Sure. So you can go to capeanalytics.com, or you can just
Mm-hmm.
reach out to me on either LinkedIn or email, which is just brandon@capeanalytics.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And I hope to see you on the road soon. And thank you all for listening today. I hope that you
Absolutely.
learned something
Likewise.
about AI and also about the wonderful tools over at Cape. I know we normally don't say super salesy, but this is just something, and this is something that I listened to your presentation in uh, at the Curran shows, and it's just something that fascinates me so much, and I think is such a unique and new thing, that I wanted to give it some space today and have that conversation. So thank you, Brandon, and thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.